Demonstration video on storage and proper handling of the Northeast hard clam Mercenaria. A few days ago we sent to all of you wonderful folks our video on clam opening and how to plate the clam. This is really should be used in conjunction with. You should be looking at this at the same time. This package right in front of you is how we receive clams from local fishermen. Fishermen bring us clams in mesh bags. We have all different size mesh bags. The most important thing is when you're storing the clams, you want to make sure you put them either in the mesh bags or baskets that we send them to you in, or something very similar. It allows the clam to breathe. It also allows you to keep the bag tight, and I'll show you that in a minute. The other thing is a clam, unlike is very different from an oyster. The shell of a clam looks like it's very hard, and it is, but I show you this broken clam here because just in the handling of the clam, from the time the fisherman catches it to the time we get breakage. It's that easy to break a clam. If I did that to an oyster, it would not break. So why am I showing this to you? The liquid that's coming out is the ocean. It's the taste of the ocean. It's what gives the clam its wonderful flavor when you eat it. We want to make sure that when you finally serve this clam in a restaurant or in a hotel, that liquid is still inside the clam. And I'm going to show you some tips and techniques that'll enable you to do that. You always want to make sure that the bag or the basket is tight. It helps to keep the clam closed. What we do here, because we handle so many hundreds and hundreds of bushels of them, we use wire ties, and we literally tie the bag tight. What it does is it keeps the clam closed. This clam is still alive. You talk about eating sushi, where people like to eat fresh fish. Raw clams and raw oysters are the freshest fish you're going to eat because they're alive until you take the top shell off. This animal is still alive. Now he doesn't know he's out of the ocean because he's just a simple little animal. So he's always trying to open his shell to eat because he doesn't realize he's even out of his element, out of the water. So by us keeping the bag tight, it keeps his shells closed together and he does not lose the liquid. It's very important. Now what do you do in a restaurant at the end of the night? You've had clams out on the ice. Let's talk about that. You put clams out on the ice on a raw bar or on a display, oysters too. You always want to make sure that they're set up in a way that the melting ice, cold water drains away from them. You never want these laying in cold water because the clam will sense the cold water and he'll try and eat it. It's alive. He wants to eat. He's hungry. So as soon as he feels water on his shell, his little bivalves start going and he's going to siphon in the water. Well, we don't want him eating cold, fresh water because it's going to kill him. So if you put clams or oysters on ice, which will not hurt them, you want to make sure that the draining ice or the liquid water, when it melts from the ice, gets away from the clam and the oyster. At the end of the night, when you're closing up the restaurant or the hotel and you have clams left, you want to take them out of the ice and either put them back in a bag and tie it up tight, or you can put them in a restaurant tray or a plastic bucket with holes. Okay, and if you put them in a plastic bucket with holes, you can even put a little ice on top of them. But the draining ice, or when the ice melts, it's got to escape and get away from the clam. Very important. Now, in the transportation, for those of you who are distributors, and you're going to be moving this product around from your refrigerators, your walk-in boxes, putting it on a truck to deliver it, you don't want these jumping around in the back of the truck. You don't want them doing this on the truck because by the time you deliver them, all those clams on the bottom are going to be broken. You want to stack them nice and neat and tight in the truck and make sure that they don't bounce around, or maybe you can put them in a wax cart, so that they get handled properly and are cushioned a little bit from breakage. Clams also need to be kept cold. let's talk about this. We here in the States operate on Fahrenheit. Most of you folks that are going to be watching this use Celsius. We keep our walk-in box, and we have 2 huge walk-in boxes, at 39 Fahrenheit, which is about 3.85 to 4 degrees Celsius. That's the perfect temperature for clams and oysters. They like it. It's where they do real well, and it will extend the shelf life. So if it's too cold, if you have them set at freezing, the clams will freeze on you. And if it's much warmer than that, if they're in a box that's too warm, a walk-in refrigerator that's too warm, they start to perspire and almost like a dog or a horse with its tongue out. They're constantly breathing and they're going to lose all of their liquid, and we don't want that to happen. So 39 Fahrenheit, 3.85 to 4 Celsius is the perfect range, give or take a degree on the Fahrenheit scale. On the Celsius scale, it would probably only be a half a degree either way. We don't want it to go out of that temperature range. How long can you hold clams? You can probably hold clams for a week to 10 days if they're kept cold at all times. All right. It's a live animal. It's a live animal, and we want to make sure that people enjoy eating it. If what the clam will do when they start to die is they will start to open up, and that's it. So you will sometimes, due to transportation, shipping, get a few clams with cracks, just thin cracks in the shell. Those clams will eventually die on you if you hold on to them too long. It doesn't mean the whole bag of clams is bad. If you see a couple that may be here, if you zero in on this, there's one right there that's cracked. These clams just came. If you look at this tag, we just got these clams today. So that was delivered to us by a fisherman. There's a couple of cracked ones because he's got I know the guy's truck that he brings them in on. The springs are real tight and the clams bounce around on the back of the truck, and we talk to them all the time, and we still get a few with broken clams. So you can pull out the broken clams and still use the rest. We've had a couple of you ask how to handle them, how to keep them alive. Clams can also be kept in a tank, but it's got to be an approved shellfish holding tank. You just can't throw them in any old tank where you have grouper or koi or some other fish swimming around. Because these animals are filter feeders. They filter in everything into their stomachs, and then we eat them raw. So you don't want them filtering in other animal waste. They've got to be an approved tank that's set up strictly for shellfish holding, where the water's pure, controlled temperatures, etc. In the States, we have very strict regulations on that. I can't speak for those of you in different countries, but I'm sure if you check with your health authorities, like I know in Europe, shellfish holding tanks are very popular. I can't speak for Japan and China and Hong Kong and Macau. I'm not too sure what your health regulations on shellfish are. But the other thing is, here in the States, we have to have these waterproof tags. This is from a material called Tyvek. In English, it's Tyvek. It's used on a lot of construction sites where they want to make sure something's waterproof before they put up the outside shingles or asbestos exterior or brick. But we use them here in the States for shellfish tags because they don't rip or tear, and even if they get wet, they don't get damaged. It's a good idea for those of you that are going to start to handle shellfish, oysters, and clams to get some sort of tagging system where you write the date that you received the product down on it so you can keep track of it. So you have a shellfish receiving log that, hey, I got 20 bushels of clams and 30 bushels of oysters from KMB Seafood. Came in on Thursday the 29th of May. You have a record and they're all tagged. So if you get a second shipment in a day or two later, they don't get confused. And it helps. It's just another way to handle the product properly. I don't want to overdo this. That's about all I need to say on this. When you do view this, if you have other questions, come back to us and we will do another little extension on this for you on shellfish handling and storage.